Yes, muted. Thank you, Asitsu. Also, hello. Uh, yeah, I forgot. I switched back to the Stream Deck after I got it working again, and now I forget that I have to actually like click all the buttons. I should probably set up a like the combined thing where it just like does all the things at once. Switches over to this thing, stops the music, presses the unmute button. But anyways, we are working today on more videos. Specifically, we're continuing on the validate a custom validator, or at least how you can do a custom extractor, which will also allow you to validate data in there before it gets into our component itself, which is nice. Now, it was sort of like a pain to figure out. I remember, so I left ourselves some breadcrumbs for this. And if I remember correctly, we open up our local documentation, and it's under extractors, um, from request, and then I think this, but did I did something different. Oh no, I did the same thing here. So we have our async trait. My return code does not have all these pins. Oh no, my return code is essentially this. So I just copied this. And this seems to have worked. Whereas I got a bunch of other stuff. I got this with the default Rust analyzer, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but this is not as fun to look at as this. But I guess it's still using a generic. So I don't know. I'll have to figure it out. So okay, that goes to there. Um okay, so I think we're gonna do the same thing we did with the previous one. So just have username and password, and then we could validate those. Um, is there are there any good validation libraries in Rust? I don't think I ever looked. It's not used very much. That's used a little bit more. That's used a lot. Ooh, okay. Common validation functions. Okay, the trait, the validate derival impl. Okay. So if I pull this in, I wanna make sure that this works. So let's pull this in here. So we'll do a cargo add u. And I want derive. I want email also, but it looks like that's already in here. Okay, so we're gonna derive validate. And then for username, we're gonna add in a validate email. Okay. I wonder if there's anything else we need to do, or if this will just work now. This would still work with the other validator, wouldn't it? Not the custom one. Okay, so let's open up you. Still getting a 200 okay. Yeah, so I got the user here, and we're putting the user in. This is request user, so it's user and custom validator here, which should give me the right thing. Okay, more documentation. Yeah, so I need to import the validate trait. I guess if I want to run this manually, call validate from request. Oh, do I need to call it? Where does it? Where does it show it being called? Oh, I see. Okay, sign up data dot val. Okay, so we have to do so we still have to call. Okay, so this is still good. This is still good. I was wondering whether or not this would just work in the other one, but I want the validate to happen in here and like the rest of the function not to care about it. So in here we get JSON request. Okay, so I don't care about this custom validation here. I instead want to do our match on user dot validate. Why can't I fill the match arms? Really? You're not going to help me? Okay, and that gives me the user back? Okay, and we get something. Or maybe we don't get anything at all? I'm not sure. Oh, yeah, we get nothing at all. So we got you. We have error. Okay, so then we have validation errors. So then I want to return. Um, so this is going to be return error status code not acceptable, and I want the string is probably going to be yeah, let's format It could work if it had its own deserialized derive, but it doesn't. So it is manual, which is fine in this case. Okay, format is a macro. Why are you upset? This enum variant takes one argument. Oh yeah, tuple. So you are tuple type in there. Okay, and then if we're good, we get an okay here. Really, so this could be an if let error at this point, because like if we don't care about the okay, yeah, we might as well just do that as an if let error. Okay, so back to you. If I used username like that, we get a 406 not acceptable, and validation errors username code in string. Okay, so I believe they showed that we could have a better error message in here. Can I have a better error message, or is it just sort of what I have? I was hoping I could pass in a better. Doesn't their implement display? I might be thinking of other errors. Let's try it. So if I implement display with like this, I'm so used to like just oh, I think I'm used to like this error and other errors that don't implement display. Um, so if I just do an error like that, uh, into so you're oh right, I would need to then replace you with a I don't know what the error. Oh, I could yeah okay yeah let's try this. Okay, better. Username validation error, email value string. Okay, that's not too bad. Now it doesn't say. Okay, email should be an email. It would be nice. It would be nice if it told me exactly what the problem was here. Um, like this is not the best error message. Like I wouldn't want to display this to the end user. And oftentimes in APIs you want it to be like a little bit more human readable along with that that error code. I wonder if I can catch what this is. So can I see error dot so I have field errors. Oh, and that gives me a hash map of validation errors, field errors. Oh, interesting. Okay. So I can maybe like loop through this to find what the field errors are. Let me see if I could find what type of errors. Okay, so if we look at Okay, so we have validation error. This is a validation errors. Okay, there's a has error function. Oh, and it gives me the field that it was a failure in. That's for a given field, but I don't. Oh, I'd taken in a result. Okay, so I pass it in the entire thing, and then it gives me a field. Oh, no, I give it a field. I want. So if I get errors, that gives me this hash map of a static stir validation errors kind. Field errors gives me a hash map of static string and then a validation error singular for each one. Okay, so if I do field errors like that. Okay, so let's make this a little bit better. So we're gonna do if let error. I guess this is gonna be the errors equals user dot validate. Then I want to get let field errors equals errors dot errors. I want to extract out. Okay, so we only have one here, right? So if it's the username, so if let some user username error equals field errors dot get. Guess that would just be username. That's still a vector of validation error. Oh, interesting. This is still errors. Then, so let's imagine that I have, okay, so I have some errors. I want to create either a vector of error messages or just a string that I then responding here as part of the rejection. Like let mute message equals string new. Okay. I could have multiple validations on a field which would fail or not. Yeah, that's a good point. And also hello Kafka. Okay, so if I do that, then I want to now loop through these username errors to figure out which kind of error it is. So, what would that be? Username errors. I mean, I could take it into iter because I think taking ownership of this is fine. We're gonna for each. So this is a specific error, and I just want to debug what this error is because like we've written a bunch of stuff here. Oh, and I don't want to return what debug tries to return. Oh, wrong thing. That. There you go. Now, if we get to this point here, I want to return error status code bad request followed by the message. B Porter, hello. Good morning. It doesn't make a difference since you only have a reference to begin with, and those are copy. Oh, okay, yeah. Then yeah, it doesn't really make a difference, iter or not. I keep on forgetting to give you a tuple type. Okay. It does not need to be variable yet, but if I now run you, okay, we get a 400 bad request, and I don't get any error message out because it's empty, right? So, but I should see validation error, code email, message none, and then we have params. Okay, so code. Okay, code email. So that's how I know that it's this thing, that it's a bad email. Okay, so then I could come into here and we can say, so I want to take error equals validation error code. So I wonder if I want this to be an if or just, I guess like each one will be a slightly different thing. So interesting that there's no message. And that does make me think that there is a way for me to write what the message would be in here. I guess it just makes me feel like that. Okay, so hold on, this would be validate. This original trait. Where does this come from? This validate is not validate or validate. That's that one. Oh, it doesn't show up. Okay, so I need the macro validate, which I don't see here. I was really hoping to see like a custom message. Oh, sure can. Okay, so validate email message equals hello. I want to find where the documentation for that is. So if I search for message, validation error. Okay, well that gives me that, but where do I find the documentation message telling me that I can do that? It's on the creates.io page. Okay, so I missed that. Is it not in here? That's too bad. Let's go back until we find creates.io again. Okay, I'll carefully look through here until I can find the error message. At the bottom. Of course it's at the bottom. Here it is. Validate email code. Okay, so message attribute. Validate. Okay, so they all contain, it looks like they all contain this ability to do a message. Nice. Okay, so I do validate. Okay, so this calls like a function, and then we kind of have message equals username must be a valid email address. Okay, so if I just do that, and then I don't need to do any of this stuff, we can, I don't even need to do this. Is that true? No, because like we might have multiple here. It's like what if I add in another one? So like password is validate. Can I do a string? I don't think they have like a custom validator for passwords, right? I don't think I saw that. Wait, where's that list? Okay, validators, email URL, length. Okay, so we could do length. Range must match, contains, does not contain, and then regex. And then we could do custom, of course. Okay, so we'll do length. Steven, hello. Probably length. Okay, so we're gonna do length. And then message. Oh, I have to say length min. Okay, so min, is it equals? Yeah, it's like min equals, let's say 1. Message equals password must. Well, I mean, I guess it's like here in that it exists. It's like password must be set or something like that. Password must be minimum 8. Is it still a thing with NIST that passwords that you're no longer supposed to validate passwords at all, except that they exist? I feel that's a thing now, but I can't remember. NIST made those recommendations a long time ago, and I forget exactly what they were. I used to stay up on them when I was a system admin. Yeah, minimum length does make sense. So if I do like minimum length 12 or 8, what am I doing here? I'm doing definitely less than that. So we'll do minimum length equals 8. Message passwords must be set. Okay, so now I have 2 of these. So I field errors. Um, I don't care about these, do I? So I don't want to get one after the other. I just want to get the messages and add them in here. I guess I want to return JSON now. JSON of a vec of string. Sorry, I'm looking at, there's a spider moving across the wall decently fast. So it's constantly distracting me. Okay, so if let errors validate. Now can I pull? So we have field errors. Can I get like the messages? So can I do errors dot can't get the messages. I can get the field errors, which is then okay, so you had password validators reject a password because you used a special character. Okay, yeah. So if you need that, like if you have special characters that your database can't handle or something, then you can put you could put a validator to prevent that, for example. Yeah. Okay, so we do let field. Okay, so we're gonna get the field errors. Then I want to. I guess if I don't care about these, then I can go through the values, right? So I want field errors dot values, which can I what is this? The values in this case is going to give me, well, okay, you don't know. Let values, is that going to be a vector? No, it's a values type. Oh, interesting, with a stir like that. I always thought the values would give the other thing. Special characters the database can't handle means plain text passwords. Well, special characters that the database can handle if it's like putting in as like a varchar or a text or something like that. There should be very, very, very few of those that are special characters. Uh-oh, Kafka, what happened? But now I can click the show here. Oh, it was to XKCD. A relevant XKCD. Oh yes, this type of password, yes. This was not referenced by NIST when they did their article, but I sort of feel that they had it in mind. Basically, the gist of it was gist or gist. I have exposed your. Oh, I'm so sorry. Um, the it was allow people to use password trackers and don't do anything that causes people to not be able to use password trackers. That's it. Okay, so what am I doing? I want to get the values out. I mean, I kind of feel like this is not really helpful here. So what I could do is because I have a hash map, we could do field errors. Oh, I know. I don't need this message anymore. I don't need this message anymore. We're turning this into a JSON. Okay, so I want let messages. Now your type is going to be a vec of string equals want field errors. We can get an iter. We can then map through these. So we're going to have a field error. For this, I have the stir, but I don't really care about this. I just want the message out. Okay, so password must be set. Password must be at least 8 characters long. Okay, so I want to get this validation error out, so I can grab you as the we have the field and the error. The error has that vec of validation errors, which is fun. So then I need to iterate through that. Oh, that's I don't like that. Because I need a single string to go from here. So if I take error dot, I then have to iterate through you. So this is actually errors. So errors dot Oh, did I try printing the error with display? No, I did not try printing the error with display. I probably should. So here, let's go back to just a string now that we've set a message. That's a really good point. So let's not do this entire thing. We can do you. So if we have an error, I want to return, I guess it's going to be you. I want to return error, status code, bad request. Message is going to be format of the errors. Okay. Password must be at least 8 characters long. Username must be valid email address. Okay, that's pretty good. I like that. Knowing that, we could change this maybe to be must be valid email address, must be 8 characters long. There we go with that. Okay. Thank you, Asitsu, for reminding me that we don't have to do insane things. It must only print the params if there is no message. That, yeah, it probably has some logic in there for that. Okay, so this is what we're gonna do. This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna add in some validation for it here. Okay, so we extract with that. All right. I don't think this is gonna be too terribly hard. I think the biggest part is remembering the extractors from request, not looking at this one, but going down to this one. Now, that being said, this doesn't have all of these things, which that feels a little bit odd to me. So if I just do where T is send, that's going to fail, right? Yeah, because then I can't use, I have async function. Because what I'm doing in here. So, okay, so then we're going to follow through the errors. And so, okay, well, T also needs to implement HTTP body. Okay, T needs to implement HTTP body plus data, right? What was that? That's HTTP body data. Yeah. That's the wrong one. Okay, what did I have here before? Oh, it's like T. Okay, it's like T. Data inside is send. Okay. So when I remove, when I just start with you, okay, T colon HTTP body. So I could then do plus HTTP body. And now you're saying, oh, hey, your T colon data needs send. Okay, so T colon data needs send. T colon error. Okay, T colon error is standard error. No, it would need to have that in here. What am I missing? Oh, I think it's like response error into box error. This is the not fun one. I'm kind of sad that it doesn't have those here. Now, if I did this, well, no, because this is not. My previous one is I did a pin. I did a pin. So I think I just did tsend. And then instead of an async function, we did a normal function. And inside of you, we did a pin. How's it work? It's like pin this, so we're returning you. Oh, and then it would be async block. Returning you. Okay, from then we had all of this stuff in here too. Ah, that's oh, it's box pin. Oh, box pin. Pin. Like that. Okay. Mismatch types. Okay, so then it was we were returning this fun thing. And this allows us to use the Rust analyzer sort of completion for it. Okay, let me try this again. So if I don't do async trait, if instead here we do impl, it's gonna be like B for impl from request B for request user, implement the missing major. Okay, so type rejection is gonna be status code and a string. From request, okay, we get this entire fun thing. Um, Not using the request, okay, that's fine here. So we are going to return a box pin async block, and then we can do our big thing that we're doing. So I want to extract the request first. So let what was it? It was like JSON user. Oh, I forget how to do it. So it was like request dot extract. This is JSON request user. Dot await. That equals. Okay, so dot map error. Why are you so upset? Okay, map error is an unknown thing. Okay, cool. Expected, sure. Expected semicolon. Oh, and I have my to do here. The trait found BHP body is that? I was hoping that would work. Oh, I still need to do this. Where B is send. No? Okay, where B is HTTP body. Okay, plus send. And then we still need this entire thing. I was really hoping. Okay, so I have send async trait. Yeah, I was really hoping that would make it easier. But it doesn't necessarily make it any easier at all. Like at that point, I might as well use async trait. Now this is nice. It tells me impl from, okay, so do I need just pull these in? Like this is the where maybe? Oh, check the one for JSON. Okay, good point. Oh right, for string. Let's see. So that's for string. For tuple option request by itself. JSON. Okay. So then I take you. And you go in here. Oh, can I find type T? Where's T come from? Oh, impl TB from. Oh, for JSON T. Okay. So this we don't need. Aha. Okay, that's it. That's what we need. So now if I use the async, okay. So sorry, I'm resetting this several times just to try to like make sure I'm understanding and learning it. I call this a build and burn. It's one of the ways that I sort of like learn how these things work. So come all the way up here, and I want to use the async trait method. So I've installed this already, let's say. Or actually, we already have this, don't we? So we can just use async trait in here because we're just using, oh, I'm using async trait. This is using Axum async trait. Is that something I can do? Axum. Oh, I don't know if I needed to install async trait. I think it's a re-export. I think we accidentally installed it and didn't need to. Okay, so async trait. Thank you for all these errors. Lovely. Um, Here, let's just get rid of you all. I want to pull in async trait like that. We have a request user. We've added our validator. And now I want to do impl b what is it? It's from request b for request user. But then before we do anything else, we need to come and find that this one. So it's at the very bottom. That's nice. So we're gonna take this where and add u in. But then we notice, well, hey, this T type we don't need because that's like we know what this is. Let's see. With GATs, we are one step closer to real async traits. I know, I've been hearing about that. There's still a little bit more that needs to be done for it, but yes, we're getting close. Steven, okay. How do I force myself to take vacation days? You haven't taken a day in 7 months. It's not unlimited, so you get paid for the days if you leave. Even if it was unlimited, you'd often get paid for them if you leave. Unlimited really just means that you don't like acquire days off, and then when you quit, if you have accumulated days off, they have to pay you for those. It's actually a cheap trick for companies to not have to pay for time off. But okay, how do you force yourself to take vacation days? If you have a good manager, tell your manager that you're having this problem and ask them to hold you accountable for it. And then they should. If your manager is not good, and they don't want to do that, then you're gonna have to manage yourself. Like actually turn into a manager for yourself and create some kind of like system to like almost like pip yourself for it, where it's okay, if I don't take it by this time, these are the repercussions that will happen, and then you have some sort of like tracking system to like track that. And it can be it can be a little bit weird if you haven't done it before, but it can work for some people. So I guess you need to figure out how to manage yourself or get your manager to manage you. And hopefully that works. Okay, so impl that for this thing, implement missing members. Okay, so type rejection. Oh, right, we wanted to use async trait for this too. So I've done that. We pull in HTTP body. We pull in box error. Rejection is going to be a tuple type with a status code and a string. Okay. I'm going to name this to request. Now we're doing this async type. So back to the top again, where we say, hey, with the async trait, we don't need to do return this entire fun pin thing. Instead, we can actually have this async function like that. So we're going to replace this from request with you. Still put in a to do here. Okay, request parts. Pull you in. And I like to call this actually full out request. Okay, so haven't used the request. We want to let I want to get the extracted thing out. So what is that? That's going to be let our user stocks are up 7%. I don't know. I stopped looking at the news after voting day. So I did not want to look at anything at all. It's usually too negative. So I have not been looking at anything at all. So that is a comes as a surprise to me. Also, was it? I guess it just went up. Okay. Okay. Select user equals. We're gonna do request dot extract. I want to extract. Now, can I do just from request user? I think I can, right? Request user. All right. So that's a future. So we await. Now I have a result. So we want to. There we go. Map error. We have our error. Now I want to return. I actually want to return a new error. So status code bad request. No, like this. And then I want the error. So we're going to do a format. Error, like that. And question mark u. And there we go. So now we have access to our request user. All right, cool. So some are down and some are up by exactly the same amount. So if you got both Stevens and Asitsu stocks in your portfolio, you're even, which is perfect, right? Oh, sorry, I misread that, Asitsu. Your socks are down 7%. Well, that's equivalent, right? Like um, yeah, I totally didn't read that right. You got me. Okay, so now I have my access to my user. Now we run our validator. So if let error, if let, I think it was some error. No, it was error. It was really errors equals user dot validate. So at this point, I don't have to do the to do anymore because we're going to return an okay with the user here. Okay. You're upset. Oh, this error doesn't implement display. So this one, we go like this on. You, however, okay, so if let, we have our errors here. I think I can now do we want to return an error tuple type. So we do status code bad request. And then we do our format errors. Argument never used, argument never used. Did I do this wrong? Why are you argument never used? Format. Oh, like that. Forgot that thing. Okay, then back to you. Bam. Bam, 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 bam. Maybe. What did you fail on? Overflowed the stack. Oh, we got that last time. We got a stack overflow. Bull first ad, hello. Where? Stack overflow. Well, that's no fun. That's no fun. Okay, so what did I do wrong with this? It's I do you, I return you, so we get you out. It was this thing, right? Do I need a JSON for this instead of request user? Maybe it's a JSON. Expected semicolon. Um, oh, then this, okay, I messed that up like that. One, okay, so no, there's too many things. There we go. Mismatch. Okay, so then I want to make this a JSON user. JSON, no. No. JSON user like that. Okay. There we go. Okay, so I missed the JSON on that time through. So it's the JSON tuple struct to extract that out. We await it. We do the map error. Okay, so this is the toughest part, but we now know where in the documentation to go to find it. So that's good. Okay. How am I doing? I'm doing good. It's getting nice and cold here. Which like I keep on like I'm having to slather on tons of like lip balm and other things because like my skin is just turning into like lizard skin. And my lips were cracking and everything else because it's so dry now. It is it my wife mentioned that I look like a gangster now because I have this like really giant split that's still healing on my lip, which is not fun. Okay, so we finally have this. So I am going and I'm now confident that we can now do this part. I don't need to like store this away. All you can tell from the stream is a lot of redness around that area. Yeah, and I can't tell if it's still super red around that area right now. Um, but basically, I have this like right here. It's like a little bit of a scar tissue. It's trying to heal, but like lip wounds are tough. Okay, so let's definitely not as much as it was. Excellent. That's good to hear. Okay, so let's reset ourselves. So I don't need any of these things. Now my cargo toml, I had added in async trait, which I don't need to add in, and validator, which I do want to add in. Okay, so I'm gonna no, not stash. I'm gonna discard all 4 files. We have everything working here. That's fine. We're going to create a custom extractor. I'll just start with this here. And for you, so we're going to start over here for that. For validator, actually, I think it's okay to start up here to show just validator. And I don't need that. Okay. I think I'm ready to begin custom data extraction for validation purposes. Okay, so we're gonna be in here. Okay, here we go. We're going to it's 8:07. I'm going to try to record this. Um you feel like a little bit of a pretentious prick when you're sitting at the intro course to Python lectures. To you who've been programming for a while and understand computer logic and control flow, there's not really much for you to learn outside of language-specific syntax. But most people taking a course are learning a lot, and I get really bored when the professor goes into deeper explanations. That's a so it's hard to do this from a teacher's point of view, but it is possible to customize the lectures and then basically not have it be lecture time, but have more student sort of a driven activities, which means that people from all different experiences can do something about it. So that's really more of lecture style. I don't agree with. Which, by the way, lecture style, I learned this recently. That is called, the technical term for that is called coverage. They're covering material. All right, let's see if I can do a recording on this, or if I'm gonna run out of time. So back to the record, and let's do this. Okay, in the last video, we got a extractor for just JSON data. But what if we want to validate that JSON data? Like, for example, if we take our username and password they're sending in, what if we want to make sure that this is an email address? That the password has to be a minimum of, I don't know, 8 characters long or 12 characters long or just whatever we want. Well, that's kind of going to be important for us to do outside of the handler itself, um, so we can validate it. That way, if it reaches the handler, we know that it's good. So we're going to use a custom JSON extractor. So I've gone ahead and I've already created a Thunder client request for this. And we're getting, of course, a 404 not found because this doesn't exist yet. Let's go ahead and create that. So I'm going to call this the custom JSON extractor. I'm going to go into mod and mod this. And let's do a pub async function custom JSON extractor. We are going to return, I don't know necessarily that we need to return anything right now because we're really just focused on the extraction and maybe handling the validations. So we can, I mean, maybe return like the JSON of what we take in. But let's not worry about that right now. We'll just do our sort of Hello World 200 one right now. Coming back to Hue, and we'll do a dot route. So this was for custom JSON extractor. And we're going to do a post to custom JSON extractor. Well, that means I need to pull it in with a use statement. Okay. Happy here. Let's come in here and talk about, well, let's make sure. Okay, we got our 200 okay, but we're not getting any validation type stuff. So let's, like, one step at a time, let's create our struct for the JSON data coming in. So we know that this is going to be a struct with a username and a password inside of it, and we're going to have to use Serde to derive that out. So we're going to derive deserialize. It needs to have this actually be a struct first. So pub struct. We're going to call this a request user, just like a previous. Now I can bring in deserialize. Import deserialize. Okay, great. So we're going to have a, I don't really need it to be pub or not. So we're going to have a username. That needs to be a string. And we're going to have a password. That also needs to be a string. Excellent. Okay. They're never read. Just to make that this error go away, I'm going to make these public. Okay, now if I want to implement a custom, well, one of the reasons for custom is this validation. So we can go two ways. I can implement the custom first and then the validation, or I can implement the validator and then do that. Let's implement the custom extractor first, even though it doesn't really do anything special, and then I'll add the validation inside of it. Now, if we go to the documentation, and this is the local documentation from my downloaded installed crates. So in Axum, we're going to go to extractors, and notice that it says an extractor is a type that implements from request. So we're going to implement this ourselves manually. Now, this first example here is a little bit tough to read. It has pin and boxes and dying futures, and it looks really hard to use. So we're going to skip that and go down here where we actually see that there's this async trait macro that we can use. That means that we can now have this async function, and it feels so much easier to use. Okay, so that's nice. I'm just gonna copy this. Now I notice that this async trait comes from Axum async trait. So that's just what we care for. So gonna put in async trait. We're gonna have to pull that in. So import async trait from Axum. Import from request from extract. So Axum extract from request. Instead of my extractor, this is going to be request user. Now it has where be ascend. That's fine for right now, but we're going to have to change that in a little bit. For rejection, I actually don't want this to just be a status code. When we reject this, I want to have a message coming in as well. So I'm going to have a tuple type where we have a status code. And just for right now, we'll just do a string. But this could, of course, be JSON as well. Okay. Next up, we have async function from request. I like to change this to be just a full out spelled out request. Request parts. Okay, so we need to pull that in. And now it's yelling at us that we're not actually returning what we say they're going to return. So let's put a to-do in here really quickly to handle that. And now it's just yelling at us that we're not using the request. Okay, so if I want to extract out the request user from this request, we can do that by, manually calling extract on this request. So let's do this as we want a JSON user equals our request dot extract is a method that we can call on here. And we have to say that it's going to be JSON, and inside of that, it's this request user. That's exactly the same as before putting in JSON user colon JSON request user. And so far, this is no different than we did in the last video, except it's just more work. Okay, that gives us a extract gives us a result, but it's also asynchronous. So we have to await this. And now it gives us a result, but it's the wrong kind of result. We want to return it to this type of error. So we're going to do not overwrite you. We're going to do something called a map. What are you yelling at me about? What I sometimes like to do is come here and just take a look at what we have. So we have this result. So I do the await. Oh, look at this. The trait bound B HTTP body is not satisfied. Well, at this point in time, I could just start playing with this B:send to sort of make sure that the generic B is exactly what we want it to be. But if we come back to our documentation and we look down far enough, implementations on foreign data types. So take a look at this. import B from request B for string. So if we're taking a string, this is exactly what we would need to bind B to. Well, let's scroll down until we find JSON, which of course it's at the very bottom here. But we can see here, impl T and B. So there's two generic types for this, but from request only takes B here. This JSON takes T. So if we tell JSON exactly what it is, I only need to really like lock down B to these three things. So HTTP body plus send, B : data send, and B : error into box error. Okay, so I'm going to copy those, and where this is this B send, I'm going to replace you. Now, when I do this, HTTP body, we need to import you, and we need to import box error. Okay, everything is happy again, and I can bring this back to a JSON user again. Okay, mismatch types. So I want to map this error. And so we have our error here. And I want to return a tuple type that has the status code. Let's do a bad request. And let's format this error to be whatever it is. So it's a JSON rejection. So I'm going to use the format macro. And we're going to pass in the error here. Now, at this point in time, I can do a question mark, and that will give us the actual JSON type. Okay, great. Now I have this user that I'm not using, and I can replace you with a OK user. And that is now manually implementing the extractor to give us the user here. So I can now, at this point in time, say I want our user, which is going to be a request user. No like special JSON or anything else at this point in time. And let's say I just want to maybe debug this user. And that's it. I don't care about anything else. Oh, this request user doesn't implement debug. Let's change that. Debug. So if I open up you again, we hit our request. We now see our request debugged out, the JSON for this. Okay, excellent. But we're still not validating data. So I have a crate suggestion for this. There is a crate called Validator, which is decently popular, and it allows us to use macros to mark parts of a struct as validating. And we need to use a custom extractor to really get the most out of this validator. Otherwise, we need custom validation logic in our route handler, which we don't want. So let's go ahead and add validator in. And we're going to have to bring in the derive feature. So it already shows us that we need that. So let's go ahead and add this in ourselves. So I want cargo add u -f derive. Now there's some other things that we could bring in, but we're not going to need them for this specific, for this exercise. Once that's in here, we can now begin using it like this. We can now bring in a validate part of this derive. So for our custom request user, we want validate. And then inside of the username, our documentation shows that we can do this validate with email here. Okay. So validate, we want email like that. For password, we might want the length. So in the documentation, they actually have a list of all the validators down here. So we have email and length. which then we have this function part of length, which can pass it a minimum, for example. So let's do that. Validate length min equals, let's say, 8. That's great and all, but we want a custom error message because whatever they're going to hand us is probably not what we would want to then display to the front end as an error. So if we continue to scroll down, we'll eventually find where they'd use messages, and that's all the way at the bottom. Messages and code. So each validator can take 2 optional arguments in addition to their own, which is a message. And they show an example of this here. So for email, we could have a code. We don't care about that, but then message here. So for email, I want turn this into a function. Message equals invalid, or maybe must be a valid email. And so we min message equals must have at least 8 characters. Okay. Now I saved this, but we need to actually validate you. So once I have the user extracted out, we can then run a validate method on it, which will hand us an error with the errors on it. So let's do an if let error. We want these errors equals, it's going to be our user dot validate. So this has been added in for us because we added this validate derive macro here. Now, if we have any errors, I simply want to just return a new error. So we're just going to return an error. Now the error is this tuple type with a status code, bad request, and then the other thing is going to be the errors. So we want to format and pass it in the errors. It's going to grab the messages based upon what is wrong here. So we have 2 things wrong, and it's going to give us a single string with both of them in here. If we get past this guard here, then we return the OK user. So I'm going to hit send. We're going to come back to here. We have 2 problems. And now if I hit OK, we have 400 bad request, and password must have at least 8 characters. Username must be a valid email. There is no guarantee what order these error messages are going to come back in. Let's change this to be a valid username. So if I just do like b@b.com, send, okay, well now it's a password. That's not doing so great. So if I send you, now we get our 200 okay. And if we take a look at our cargo watch, we now get our debug, whereas before we weren't getting that. So using this custom extractor, we're able to prevent the handler from being run at all unless it passed validation. And this is, in my opinion, one of the strongest use cases for implementing your own extractor, is just to run this custom validation logic on the server side. And that's it. Like all the extra logic you want to do now in the validator, in the handler, absolutely you can do. I really wanted to show you that you can do this here. Creating your own extractor is really not that hard as long as you know where to look in the database to find exactly how to create the extractor and sort of lock down the generics. So thank you so much for watching. I hope that this has been helpful, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye. All right. 8:26. Okay, not too bad. A little bit late. Let's see. You feel that's exactly what your professor is doing with the sort of the coverage. It's almost like a Quizlet where you get code snippets. Yeah, so there's this book I've been reading, Understanding by Design, which talks about like this is a problem that many, many, many college instructors specifically have, and it requires a different. Yeah, there's a lot of causes for it, and it's one of the reasons why colleges is like, if they improved education and they like were willing to like do cover less things but cover them better, that would be better. He had a class like that in college too. He'd post the homework before starting his lecture about it, and he'd have it submitted from your laptop before class was over. Traded boredom for an easy A. That is nice when they do that. Pollux, hello. I'm doing good. Yes, I was recording the lesson, and that's why I couldn't respond. But I have recorded this lesson. I think that was pretty good. I need to mark down what I did before I forget. Oh, that was all. Where is it? OBS recordings. Okay, so what was this? This was so I think this is a custom extractor with validation. So custom extractor with validation. You are recorded. I can close all of you now and send you on up. So recorded custom validator with no, custom extractor with validation. There we go. And I can sync those changes. Excellent. So I am I'm gonna have to do our normal emergency stream shutdown. Seems like I've done that a bit in the last couple days. Well, anyways, thank you all for hanging out with me today. I was glad to be able to get this recorded, and we can start moving on to the next thing, which looks like it's going to be creating data into the database. So back to database type stuff, which is going to be fun. So with that, I hope that you have a great rest of your Thursday, and I will see you tomorrow morning at the same time, 7 a.m. Mountain Time. So with that, have a good one. Bye.